Pre-refunded bonds. What are they good for? Well, what are they, first of all? So Cindy on the live keeps worrying about it. So I'm going to try to fix this so you don't have to worry about it. Now, I'm doing a very basic level that's good for the SAE exam, the 65, 66, and Series 7 exam. So let's get into it without wasting any more time, your time or my time. Okay. So we issue a bond. I issue a GO bond for $10,000. Okay. I issue a $10,000 GO bond. I'm using small numbers because I'm an idiot. I can't do big numbers. I can do a million, 20 million, but then I'd have to bring up my calculator and I would suck at that. So I issue a GO bond. What's a GO bond? That's like a city, a town, a state issuing a bond for shit that's free to use, general obligation. So it's like for high schools, parks, libraries, all stuff that's free to use. It's backed by taxes, which means the interest isn't taxable, nor do I as a state have to pay taxes. So I issue a $10,000 bond, put a little dollar sign there, make us all feel better that I'm doing the right thing. Boom. Of course, if I did it in black, that would help. Boom. Okay, now, at 5%, that means I have to pay $500 a year in interest, $250 every 6 months. Great, awesome, boom. Let's say after I issue it, interest rates then drop. Now, interest rates drop in the economy down to about 3%. That means if I would issue the same bond for 10 grand, I would only have to pay 300 a year. So yeah, why wouldn't I do that? I'd rather pay 300 a year than 500 a year. So I'm going to issue this new bond later, a new GO bond at 3%, paying 10 grand, getting 10 grand, and I'm going to pay $300 a year. I keep saying one, I say month. And if I do, just ignore the man behind the curtain. So I issue this bond at 3%. I'm paying 300 a month. And then I take this 10 grand and boom, I pay this off. Boom. That's refunding. That's a refinance. You do credit cards, home loans, and all that. When interest rates drop, you refinance. Okay. Like right now, interest rates are moving up and up and up and up because we're out of a pandemic and crazy inflation. But eventually they'll drop, and all those people who bought houses at 6-7% mortgage will then refinance to save money. Same thing here. That's refunding. But what happens if the bond is not callable yet? Not callable. Or not callable yet. Maybe it's still during what they call redemption or call protection, right? Redemption protection is the number of years that you can't call a bond. The issuer can't call it back. Boy, that is just fucking messy. Well, let's fix this. Boom. So now it's not callable yet. So I still want to issue this bond and save money, but I can do it. But now I have two bonds because I can't call this back yet. Maybe it's 5 years, maybe it's 10 years, maybe it's just not callable at all. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to do what they call, these are the words, these words mean the same. Defeasing the debt, pre-refunding, advance refunding, escrow to maturity. Again, pre-refunding, advance refunding, defeasing the debt, and escrow to maturity or escrow to call all mean the same thing. It's basically a little voodoo magic to do this. Now watch what happens. Because remember, cities don't pay taxes or anything to the federal government. So they can actually, and the other thing is, GOs, you don't pay taxes on the interest. So their interest can actually be lower than treasuries. Because remember, treasuries are taxable, even though they're safer. So let's say you have like an 8% treasury. You could have a 6%, a 7% GO, but after taxes, the treasury would actually pay you less. So GOs can have a lower coupon than treasuries. But after all is said and done, treasuries have a lower payout because they're safer. But let's go back to this. I digress. So now we're going to issue this bond anyway. Boom. And it's like, wait, why would you do that? Now we're paying two. But what we're going to do, here's our voodoo. What we're going to do is we're going to open up an escrow account, a little legal account. And an escrow account is a legal account, and it has specific parameters about it. They have to meet certain conditions for the money to leave, or it has to follow certain rules. So we're going to take this and open it up an escrow account. So have our lawyer set it up, whatever. I had to do that when I bought my house because there was some shit going on. And I didn't want to be worried about paying for it. So I opened the escrow account. We issued this $10,000 bond. We now have 10 grand in cash from issuing the bond. We take the 10 grand and put it in here. And then what we do is we take that money and we buy U.S. treasuries or some sort of AAA, pretty much treasuries think all the time, that are kicking out 5%. Because remember, GOs can issue bonds that have a lower coupon than the treasuries. After taxes, it isn't that way, but we can do that. And these are drastic numbers. It would never be this wide. I'm just doing it before, just so you can explain it. So now, this $10,000 bond that I bought, this U.S. Treasury, is paying 5% a year, which is $500. That's $500 a year. So I'm getting $500 a year from a Treasury, guaranteed in a way. It's AAA rated because it's backed by the El Governmento. Okay. So now, although end of June, who knows if they can ever pay the debt ceiling, but we'll see. Now, a lot of brinkmanship going on there. So we're getting $500 a year And look, we owe 500. So basically what we're going to do is attach this bond to this old bond, this old one, this new treasury, we're going to attach it, and boom. What happens is now this thing is paying the interest on this. And when this is ready to be called, they'll just use the 10 grand to pay it off if they can. There'll be harder numbers. I'm just doing it as an example. It's a sample. So now the only thing I owe is this $300. I found a way to lower it. I say defeating, right? It sounds like defeating. I defease the debt. I put it behind this treasury. So boom. Now let's talk about this for a second. Here we go. You issued a 3% bond, $300. We're good to go. That's off my balance sheet because I did this. As long as it's a AAA or a treasury, I can do this. If it's less than that, I still have risk because these guys do not have much risk. Now, as the person who owned this bond, you were getting 5% a year based on a certain credit rating, and all of a sudden I defease it or escrow to maturity or pre-refund it. Pre-refund, not refund, pre-refund or advance refund. Now, are you happy or pissed? Well, you knew when interest rates drop, you're going to have to get called back at some point. But here's the thing. This specific bond, not me, the specific bond just became AAA rated. So your bond went from whatever the rating was to basically the same rating as a treasury. So you're not unhappy because if you want to sell the bond, it'll be much easier to sell because there's no principal risk here. Very limited because the treasury should not default. Okay. That is a pre-refunded, advance refunding, defeasing the debt. Very simple. If you talk to a bond trader, they make shit on me for that, but I'm giving you what you need to know for the exams. Okay. Don't forget to join my live every Tuesday and Thursday night, 8:30 p.m. It's a free live Q&A on any exam. I've been doing it since the pandemic started, for over 3 years now. So let's get on it.